The Lunar Guardsman. Written by Krimar. Chapter 6. An Honest Day's Work. Part 1. Applejack had spent the day, after the whole deal with the tournament and Luna's revelations, walking around the castle. There were a couple of points that just didn't stick right with her, and some looking around might give her a few answers. She figured it would be an easy chore, so she took it upon herself. Land's sake, she was walking up and down Sweet Apple Acres all the time when looking for a sick tree and other problems. This shouldn't be a thing even worth mentioning about. What was that saying Granny told her once? Pride goeth before the fall? Well, she sure as hay didn't fall, but she came close. The darn thing was huge and it had more corridors than an apple tree had leaves. It wasn't enough that she had decided to walk most of it, no sir, she had to keep getting lost. She still did it in the end. Sheer apple stubbornness won the day. What was her prize? The bitter realization that some ponies can't expect to be treated right even in their own home. And that went both sides of the issue. She didn't just walk around blindly. Applejack kept her eyes open and her ears also open. First off, what she heard. Nothing good, that's for darn sure. Ponies were talking about Rigdon and Luna. If that was part of their great plan, well, then, whoopee for them, it worked. Ponies were talking. What they said, however, was a different tale. No pony trusted Luna. The main reason was, no surprise there, the whole Nightmare Moon thing. Spent 1,000 years in representation of fear and evil in every pony's hearts, and they will hold it against you forever, it seems. There were two more recent reasons, though. Reason number 1. Rigdon. Luna's spending all her time with that fella that, from what she gathered, threatened to throttle half the castle inhabitants so far, terrorized the rest, and, let's not forget, attacked Princess Celestia, tended to rub ponies off the wrong way. Apparently, Twilight either didn't bother telling them, or she didn't know herself. But Rigdon had more control issues than she thought. She said she only got into major trouble every few months in the past, but that was no longer the case. He'd either go looking for fights with guards and every pony else, or just explode randomly at some perceived slight, scaring the bejeebious out of any pony around. Truth be told, it seemed that if he slipped up some more, Celestia will have her hoof forced to do something much more substantial about it. Reason number 2. Luna herself. Apparently she was cut from the same cloth as Rigdon. She wouldn't go looking for fights. Oh no, she knew where to find them. She would march out to where the guards were training and kick their flanks to the hospital. Her rages were known too. She would explode at times and yell loud enough to drive ponies to the wall. Literally. Her voice would push a pony until they stopped by a wall. The provocations were silly things, like Rigdon's was. Come up behind either of them too quickly and you might get your neck bitten off. Well, maybe they had reasons to be jumpy. They hadn't had quiet lives as far as she could tell, but try to be nice and offer them something to drink or eat, and you got it thrown to your face along with some classy death threats. Happen to follow the same path they did behind them? They would turn around and kick your flank. Spend more than a minute in the same room as them? You can guess what happened, and that's how that particular creek flowed. Funnily enough, those were the exact reason nobody trusted Rigdon either. It was like a perfect little yin-yang they had going, only both parts were black. As for the tournament, no pony was overjoyed over the idea of the Lunar Guard. The guards swore they would be dead before even thinking about joining a couple of psychos, and every pony else would consider it the idea laughable if it wasn't so terrifying. It was a shame, really. Applejack would appreciate some pony trying to get rid of some of the dangerous critters lying around. That was only the part she really applauded of Luna's idea. Well, that covered the work the furred wonders on the top of her head did. As for her peepers now... She once told Applebloom to mop the house while she was out. Applejack came back later that night, tired as hay, and approvingly noticed that Applebloom did a fine job. Then she decided to head for a snack first. After what she saw, she took a gander around the rest of the house. The little rascal only mopped the path that would take Applejack from the door to her room, banking on her being too tired to actually pay attention to her work. Same thing happened here. Like Rarity had pointed out to her, the castle was being redecorated so it incorporated images of Luna too. Well, that was a mighty load of horse apples. The only places here that would change occurred was the entrance, throne room, and corridors that led to Celestia's and Luna's respective towers. The rest of the castle was still pure Celestia, and nothing seemed to indicate any attempt to change that. Now, after all her hard work, she could understand the reasoning ponies had. They had a couple of psychos in her castle, feeding off each other, and now they had to show one of them the same respect they showed Celestia. The pony who was the epitome of kindness, forgiveness, and all-around goodness? On the other hoof, maybe by refusing to act towards Luna, at least, as her sister wanted them to, made the problem worse. Applejack had concerns, and concerned citizens had to act. She decided to act in the most honored tradition of ponies with problems with the government. She was going to complain and demand some answers. Now, whose ears should she be heading to bite off? This requires some thinking from her old noggin. Celestia, if she wasn't doing her best, she sure as hay would be doing it now. So, no go. Luna? That would be plain stupid. Let's bury this line of thought and never speak of it again. Steadfast, Ray? Whew, boy, that would be a disaster. She could see it now.
Excuse me there, old trooper, but I got a complaint. I just plain disagree with the way y'all Princess Luna and the guy who just killed one of your men all treat each other. When can I expect that to be all fixed?
Would he use his fancy unicorn magic to throw her out, or was he a traditionalist and just buck her flank out of the door? That was the real question. Talking about Steadfast Ray, there was that one other guy she did just recently hear about. Enter. A young stallion's voice answered Applejack's knock on the door. She pushed the door open and walked into the office. It was pretty nice, she had to admit. Spacious and large, nice thick carpet that her hooves sank into with a gentle tickle, maps on the wall. Wowzers, you even had a skill model of Equestria on the table. It didn't include Ponyville on it, though. Too small for the important details, then. She really digged the family pictures on the back, showed the fella still had his head on straight about his priorities. Was that tiny filly Twilight? She looked just darn adorable. Can I help you, Miss, Applejack, was it? He said as he gave her enough time to roll her eyes over everything. She looked him over. White coat, blue mane with cyan streaks, pretty eyes, taller than normal, nice muscled body. He looked nice. That's what she meant.
Well, hello there, Mr. Shining Armor. Yep, that's my name, all right. Applejack's Apple of the Sweet Apple Acre, straight out of Ponyville. You might not know it, seeing it's down on your fancy little model there.
Wait, you're that Applejack? He said with a pleasant surprise. He came around his office and offered a hoof shake. You're one of Twilight's friends. I've wanted to meet you ever since she wrote about you. I want to thank you for standing by her side, and everything you girls have gone through saving Equestria for Nightmare Moon and Discord, but mostly being her friend. Twilight needed some mares of her age in her life.
Oh, shucks, Mr. Shining Armor.
She blushed as she returned his nice, strong hoof shake. Twilight's brother didn't just spend most of the day in the office.
We are her friends, and we all stick together. That's how we do things in Ponyville.
He laughed excitedly. Please, call me Shining, Miss Applejack. The proper term is Captain Armor, but this is off limits for Twilight's friends. It was a nice and big honest smile, too. She liked him plenty so far.
As long as you call me Applejack, or AJ, it's a deal.
His smile got even wider. Applejack answered it with one of her own. So, Applejack, please, have a seat. Can I get you something to drink?
Nah, I'm fine. I swung by the dining hall for some juice before I came here.
She told him as she parked her tushy into one of the comfy chairs set on the side. He joined her, sitting on the other one, a small table set among them. Is there anything I can help you with, or is this just a social visit?
I wish I could say it's the latter, but I have things I want to talk about. Specifically things that I've come up with my friends since I came with Twilight here yesterday.
Wait, Twilight's in the castle? As in right now? Spending time here? He asked, taken aback.
You didn't know? I thought she visited her folks yesterday.
She might have, but I wasn't there. I'm surprised to hear that. We might have to cut this meeting short. There's someone I should let know about this, he said apologetically.
If you're talking about Regden, he knows.
Shiny's expression spoke wonders.
That's why we came, actually. They met up all fine and seemed to be chums again.
Shining's relief was palpable.
Oh, good. That's good. That's a load off my chest. You met Rigdon, then?
Applejack nodded.
You can guess why I feel like that, then. I trust Rigdon. My whole family would trust him with Twilight's life, even if he had to face Discord himself. But the last 2 years have been just unbearable. I snooped around the castle a bit and heard some tales. I know a few things, even about him attacking Princess Celestia. What was up with that anyways?
Shining inhaled through gritting teeth.
Does Twilight know what happened? Just what I know. He attacked Princess Celestia. Won't tell why. I figured it's the usual routine for him.
Yeah, Shining agreed.
He keeps his things really close to his chest, but I agree with him on that. Twilight is better off not knowing why. Can I trust you not to tell her what happened? It depends if I think it's something she needs to know. I can't promise I'll keep my mouth shut, she warned him.
Shining nodded. Apparently that was good enough for him.
I guess some pony who's spending more time by Twilight's side than me should know a few more things, in case it is needed.
Congratulations, you are that some pony now. He finished with a bitter smile.
One day, he just went berserk. He charged at Princess Celestia with a spear he somehow got in his hands. He was yelling, sometimes in his own language, sometimes in Equestria. He kept telling the princess that he wanted her dead, that he would kill every pony he could, that he wouldn't ever stop no matter what. Pretty scary stuff, huh?
He had noticed Applejack shiver. She could picture the tall guy doing all that too well. In her imagination, though, he was wearing black armor and held something more substantial than a spear.
The Solar Guardsmen were with the princess, tried to keep him off with shields and force fields, but he just broke through them and barreled over the 2 guards to try to stop him. He caught them by surprise, see? They were both unicorns, and by the time they realized their spells hadn't managed to stop him, he was all over them and just smashed their heads against each other, taking them down. And then he reached Princess Celestia and... Don't pause for suspense, you stupid colt. This ain't one of your camping horror stories. She put him down in a single kick, launched him all the way across her room, and he got up and charged again and again and again. He just wouldn't stop like he told her. He did manage to draw some blood, which was quite the feat considering he was a moving mass of blood and bruises by that point. Why? What got into him? Why that sudden hate for Princess Celestia? She seemed to like him, most of the time at least. She was not happy at all with him today. Princess Celestia does like him, most of the time at least. Rigdon, for all his faults, knew how to treat her, as a normal mare. He never paid attention to her crown, and he likes her too. Very much, actually. I think he admires her in a way. Don't scoff. I know how he acts against her now. Before the whole thing Twilight happened, they were acting like a pair of happy parents, with Twilight and Spike as their foals. No, not that way. More like siblings. They weren't like that. They were bad moments, especially during the first 5 or 6 years, but not as bad as the last couple of years. He was getting awfully provoked then, so he gets some leeway as far as I'm concerned. It was either by contemptuous fools who thought that neither he or Twilight deserved to be in Princess Celestia's company, or just plain morons who didn't pay attention to the giant signs that said, "Don't buck with this person or this filly." Then, to everyone's surprise, things suddenly calmed down. Ponies laid off him and Twilight, and was no longer getting harassed by idiots who would get a face full of Rigdon for their troubles. He even became outright approachable to strangers. He just turned and left when he was running out of patience instead of his usual self. A couple years later, Twilight left him and Rigdon started breaking down again. I don't know what she did. Only the 2 of them do. But it drove him insane.
Shining Armor took a deep breath. Applejack could tell that he hated this part.
More insane, actually. I like him, but despite everything, he never was in his right mind. He keeps switching from friendly to hateful and from the kind of remorseful to utterly uncaring. We hoped that he would mellow back down again when he started being friends with Luna, but no dice. He takes the dislike against her very badly, and she returns the sentiment. It's a conundrum we have. They get worse off each other,
but at the same time, they keep each other calm when left alone. We have no idea how to handle them, yet, apart from letting them spend as much time as possible away from Heavy Pony up in Luna's tower. Applejack pushed him back to the starting topic.
About why he attacked the princess.
Oh, yes. Forgive me, I got sidetracked there. So, the princess was his greatest remaining friend at the time, Twilight having left and Princess Luna still being banished and unknown. And then one day he suddenly hates her and starts spewing death threats against everyone. He attacks and the princess fights back. Princess Celestia realized that he was doing at the end and stopped him, but he never forgave her for not doing what she was supposed to.
I'm confused, she said. What was the princess supposed to do?
Kill him, of course. Rigdon wanted to die. That was a suicide attempt.
What the hell is wrong with her? Twilight, give us a hoof!
Applejack called out. Twilight had chosen the darn worst time to freeze up. But, gotta give her credit, she shook herself out in the moment Applejack called out to her. Pinkie was shaking violently. Rarity was trying to hold her still, so Applejack decided to imitate her unicorn friend and give her a hoof. It was hard. Her legs were going all over the place, and she started to bounce her head all around, knocking it hard against the floor. Fluttershy rushed over and tried to keep Pinkie from giving herself a concussion.
Come on, Twilight. What is wrong? What do we do?
She called out. Twilight was examining Pinkie Pie, her stance betraying the fear she also felt, but she valiantly holding herself together.
I'm not sure. Seizures, contracted pupils, foaming. I think she's been poisoned,
Twilight announced.
What?
It was Rainbow. She did a good job in voicing every pony's shock. Applejack looked back towards the table. She didn't believe her eyes. Rainbow was still in her chair, watching them, but that was okay. Rainbow didn't get in the way if she didn't know what to do in these situations, and let other ponies take charge of what knew better. It was Rigdon and Luna that made their hair stand on end. Luna was not even looking towards them. She was sitting as she was before, taking sips of her tea and looking down in front of her. Rigdon stood next to her, watching her drink from all the cups he had gathered in front of her, keeping them in sight with the edge of his eyes, waiting, patient as you please. Pinkie Pie was poisoned right in front of them. She didn't know what they were trying to accomplish, but this time was for action, not whatever they were doing. Pinkie needed help now.
I'm going to try a general healing and cleansing spell. It might help.
Twilight said in her horn lit, getting ready to cast. Rarity urged her on.
Quickly, Twilight. We need to set her down and get her to a doctor.
Applejack turned her attention back to the task at hand. She could deal with the two heartless jerks later. That turned out to be a mistake. There was a clanging sound, metal against wood, and suddenly Rigdon's hand was wrapped around Twilight's horn and pulling, breaking her concentration and the spell she was casting. Twilight yelled out,
Rigdon, what are you doing? Pinkie needs my help. Let me go.
Not this kind of help, little one. This is for your own good. Trust me. Twilight was trying to pull her horn out of his grasp. Spike had jumped on Rigdon's back, shouting to put her down, his little fist banging against his armor. Rigdon was trying to get his arm behind him and grasp the baby dragon without hurting him. Applejack itched to buck him right in his face for doing this right now, but Pinkie gave a hard jerk and almost kicked herself in the face. Applejack's inner voice damned her luck to Tartarus itself. She couldn't let go of Pinkie, not without risking her hurting herself. Rainbow Dash now had something she knew she could do. She flew out of her seat, backed off a little to gain distance, and then, fast as ever, launched towards Rigdon. Applejack watched as she flipped midair and, right as she reached him, used her momentum and strength to hit him with her back legs as hard as she could, right on the spot where the wound was on his side.
Let go of my friends, you monster.
She yelled. Rigdon's face went white with a sudden pain. He lost his grip on Twilight and tried to backhand Rainbow. He was too slow this time, and Rainbow was ready for him. She ducked under his arm, kicked aside again, and followed it with another kick to his head. Applejack wanted to cheer for her feisty friend. Both blows landed successfully, and now Rigdon was bleeding from the edge of his mouth. Rainbow tried to push again. She turned around for another kick, but Rigdon managed to counter this time. Rainbow took a second too long to twist around and pull her leg back, readying her kick. That was all Rigdon needed. He grabbed Rainbow's back hoof and swung her over him into his other side,
smashing her against a chair.
You complete and utter idiot! Sit down, all of you! We know what we are doing!
He yelled, spitting blood on the floor. Twilight had ran next to them. Applejack had been too busy trying to hold down Pinky to help, as did Rarity and Fluttershy. But it looked like their struggles were now ending. Twilight could get them out lickety-split.
I'm gonna try and teleport us to the castle infirmary. They can help her there.
Applejack saw Rigden's eyes burn with anger.
No!
He shouted for Twilight to stop, but she was already casting. His leg flew towards Twilight's face before she finished and knocked her down. There we go. I'm glad we picked up from where we left off from last chapter, cause, oh man, poor Pinky. I can only hope she gets better. And those who are also better, cause they are amazing, are my wonderful Patreons. Thank you, Chase the Master, HKH4, aka Texture, Triss, the Animated Ghost, and another wonderful thank you to the Silent Titan. Seriously, you guys are amazing, and I appreciate it so much. If you want other ways to support me, your viewership is more than enough, but leaving a like and commenting does help with the algorithm. Also, if you're interested, I have a Discord and Patreon link down below. I would appreciate a ton if you checked out both. My Patreon includes saucy content, and my Discord is for the nice community. Maybe you could even be a voice in one of my newest collaborations that are going to be happening soon. Anyways, this has been Firehearth. Have a wonderful day.